Carl Jung believed that most people do not see reality as it is. They see reality as they want it to be. They protect themselves with illusions, half-truths, and selective blindness. It's not that they cannot see. It's that they refuse to. And so, when someone comes along who sees what others ignore, that person becomes dangerous, not only to society, but also to themselves. Imagine being the one in the room who notices the cracks in the mask, the tension behind the smile, the truth beneath the words. Everyone else nods, agrees, plays along. But you can't. You see too much. And in that moment, you stand apart. Jung called this the path of individuation, the journey of becoming conscious in a world that prefers to stay unconscious. But he also warned, consciousness is not a gift without cost. It isolates. It unsettles. It demands courage. So what is the danger of seeing what others ignore? The first danger is loneliness. When you notice truths others avoid, you separate yourself from the group. You see the manipulation in relationships others call love. You notice the emptiness in goals others worship. You sense the darkness in people others admire. And when you speak it out loud, they don't thank you. They resent you. Because in exposing the truth, you threaten the illusion they've built their lives on. Jung said, people will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own soul. And if you force them to face it, they turn on you. The second danger is burden. Seeing deeply is heavy. Most people carry their own struggles, but the one who sees what others ignore carries more. You don't just feel your pain, you feel theirs. You don't just notice your mistakes, you notice theirs too. You become a mirror for people who don't want to be reflected. And this burden grows until you wonder if you'd be happier blind, if ignorance really is bliss. But Jung would say, blindness is not innocence. It is avoidance, and avoidance always has consequences. The third danger is self-doubt. When you see patterns others deny, you question yourself. Am I too sensitive? Am I imagining things? Why do I always notice what no one else does? Jung explained this as the tension between the conscious and unconscious. Your awareness pulls you forward, but the world pushes you back. And caught in that conflict, you begin to wonder if clarity is a curse. Yet, with time, you realize the opposite. It's not a curse, it's responsibility. Here lies the paradox. To see what others ignore is painful, but to ignore what you see is worse. Because once you've glimpsed truth, you can't unsee it. You can pretend. You can stay silent. You can play along. But deep down, the knowledge eats at you. Jung described this as the voice of the unconscious knocking at the door. You can ignore it, but it will break through eventually. And when it does, the cost of denial is always higher than the cost of awareness. This is why Jung said the path of consciousness is not for everyone. Most people choose comfort over clarity. They want the safety of illusions more than the sting of truth. But for those who see, there is no going back. You either embrace the danger and walk alone, or betray yourself to fit in. And yet, there is also power here, because the same clarity that isolates you also frees you. You no longer fall for every mask. You no longer worship false idols. You no longer waste years chasing illusions. You suffer, yes, but you suffer with eyes open. And in that suffering, you grow stronger than those who remain asleep. This is the danger Jung warned about, the danger of consciousness in a world addicted to denial. To see what others ignore makes you an outsider, but it also makes you alive, because only those who face truth can ever transform. Jung said that relationships are never just between two people. They are between two psyches, two unconscious worlds colliding. And when one person sees what others ignore, it changes the balance completely. It creates tension, mistrust, and distance, because the one who sees cannot pretend, and the one who ignores cannot face the truth. Think of love. Most people fall in love with the image, not the reality. They see what they want to see, not what is actually there. But the one who sees cannot help but notice the cracks, the way words don't match actions, the way affection hides control, the way promises ring hollow. And once they notice, the illusion is broken. They try to warn. They try to explain. They try to bring honesty into the relationship. But instead of being thanked, they are punished. Because when you expose a truth someone isn't ready to face, you don't look like a savior. You look like a threat. Jung called this the danger of projection. People project their ideals, their desires, their wounds onto others. They don't see the person. They see a reflection of themselves. But the one who sees too much does not accept projections. They see through them. And in doing so, they threaten the fragile fantasy the other person depends on. That is why so many truth-seers find themselves rejected. Not because they are wrong, but because they are right too soon. Friendships suffer too. When you see what others ignore, you notice the gossip hidden behind smiles, the envy in kind gestures, the emptiness in forced laughter. You sense betrayal long before it arrives. And if you speak it, you are labeled paranoid, negative, or too much. But if you stay silent, you carry the weight alone. Either way, the truth distances you. Jung warned that the unconscious resists being exposed. And when you are the one holding up the mirror, people will often choose to shatter the mirror instead of facing what it reflects. Even family is not immune. The one who sees too much grows up sensing the unspoken tensions, the resentments behind politeness, the secrets buried in silence. They notice the lies no one admits, the dysfunction everyone normalizes. And instead of feeling safe, they feel alien. They ask questions no one wants to answer. They bring up truths no one wants to hear. And in return, they are told to stay quiet, to stop overthinking, to not ruin the peace. But this peace is fragile. It exists only because everyone agrees to ignore reality. The moment one person refuses, the illusion shatters. This is the relational cost of clarity. The more you see, the more alone you feel. You begin to wonder if something is wrong with you. Why can't I just be like them? Why can't I ignore it too? Why do I always feel the tension no one talks about? Jung's answer is harsh, but freeing. You cannot unsee. Once the unconscious has become conscious, the veil does not return. You are no longer blind, and blindness can never again be your comfort. But there is another side to this. The same vision that creates distance also protects you, because while others are fooled, you are not. While others chase illusions, you stand still. While others lose themselves in lies, you remain rooted in truth. Yes, it costs relationships, but it also saves you from destruction. Because illusions always collapse eventually, and when they do, the one who saw all along does not fall with them. Jung believed that those who see what others ignore are forced into individuation sooner. They can no longer define themselves by the group, because the group rejects their truth. They can no longer rely on illusions, because they see through them. They are forced to rely on themselves, to build an identity from within, rather than from the acceptance of others. This is painful, but it is also liberating, because the one who has learned to walk alone cannot be controlled. This is why Jung called truth dangerous, but necessary. Dangerous because it makes you an outsider. Necessary because it makes you whole. In relationships, this means loss. You will lose people who prefer their illusions. You will lose those who resent your clarity. You will lose the comfort of fitting in. But what you gain is authenticity. You no longer pretend. You no longer betray yourself to belong. You no longer sacrifice reality for acceptance. And in time, you discover something else. Those who see what others ignore eventually find each other. They are rare, scattered, hidden. But when they meet, there is recognition. There is no need for masks, no fear of truth, no demand for illusion. There is relief. The feeling of being seen after years of being unseen. These are the relationships that last, because they are built not on denial, but on reality. So the danger of seeing what others ignore is real. It isolates. It burdens. It destroys fragile bonds. But it also clears the way for bonds that are real, for love that is true, for connection that is not afraid of truth. Jung believed that no one becomes fully conscious without pain. To see what others ignore is painful, isolating, and often dangerous. But it is also the beginning of transformation, because those who see are not simply cursed with clarity, they are entrusted with it. Their suffering has meaning. Their vision has purpose. And while it sets them apart, it also sets them on a path toward becoming who they were meant to be. The first step in turning this burden into destiny is acceptance. Most who see too much resist their gift at first. They try to fit in, to close their eyes, to bury what they know. They long for the comfort of ignorance, but once the veil is lifted, it cannot be replaced. You cannot unsee. And so, denial only deepens suffering. The moment the seer accepts that their vision is real, that they notice what others miss, that they feel what others suppress, that they know what others deny, they stop fighting themselves. They stop questioning their sanity, and acceptance becomes the first form of freedom. The second step is responsibility. Jung believed that consciousness is not private. It carries an obligation. If you see what others ignore, you are responsible for what you do with that knowledge. Some become bitter, using truth as a weapon. Others become silent, carrying it like a stone. But the healthiest path is transformation. To use vision as a guide, not a curse. The danger is real, but so is the responsibility. The one who sees must choose how to carry the weight, whether to crush under it or to turn it into strength. The third step is individuation. Jung's entire psychology rests on this, becoming whole by integrating what is unconscious. To see what others ignore forces individuation early. You can no longer rely on group illusions. You can no longer measure yourself by collective denial. You must define yourself from within. This means confronting your own shadow, the parts of yourself you would rather ignore. It means facing the truth about your desires, your fears, your wounds. Because clarity about the world is incomplete without clarity about the self. To see outwardly, but remain blind inwardly, is hypocrisy. True vision demands both. This is why Jung warned that seeing too much can destroy those who refuse to grow. If you only expose others' illusions without confronting your own, you become arrogant, bitter, cynical. But if you use your vision to transform yourself, you become authentic, balanced, whole. The danger becomes destiny. What once isolated you now empowers you. What once felt like exile now feels like liberation. And then comes the final step, guidance. Jung believed that those who see more are called to lead, not through authority, but through presence. Their life becomes the message. They don't need to convince others. They don't need to fight illusions. They simply live as examples of wholeness, and those who are ready are drawn to them. The world resists truth, but it also hungers for it. And when someone embodies it fully, their very existence becomes healing. This is where the seer finds meaning. Their pain was not wasted. Their isolation was not pointless. Their suffering was not for nothing. It was preparation. Preparation to carry light into places others fear. Preparation to break cycles of denial. Preparation to be what Jung called a wounded healer, one who knows darkness firsthand and therefore knows how to guide others through it. Of course, the danger never disappears. To see what others ignore will always create conflict. It will always make you stand out. It will always set you against the comfort of the collective. But by this point, the seer no longer fears it. They know that truth has a cost, but illusion has a greater one. They know that it is better to walk alone in clarity than to belong in blindness. They know that suffering in truth is stronger than comfort in lies. This is the paradox Jung wanted us to face. The danger of seeing what others ignore is also the gift of becoming more than others ever will. Because to live in illusion is easy, but it is shallow. To live in truth is hard, but it is real. And the one who chooses reality, no matter how painful, becomes unbreakable. So the danger of seeing what others ignore is not only about loss. It is about destiny. It is about becoming conscious in a world that resists consciousness. It is about embodying truth, even when truth costs you everything. And in the end, it is about freedom. The kind of freedom no one can take away, because it comes from within. Now I'll leave you with this. Is it better to see too much and carry the weight, or to ignore it and live in comfort? Comment your thoughts below. I read everyone, and your perspective will resonate with others walking this same path. And if this message struck you, don't just watch. Support. Like the video, subscribe to Psychatic, and share it with someone who feels different because of what they notice. And if you feel called, consider leaving a super thanks to help us keep uncovering Jung's most dangerous truths. Remember Jung's warning. People will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own soul. But if you dare to see what others ignore, you become more than they ever will. You become whole.